Yeah, I mean, so what do you think has caused the transition? Because obviously the UK is a massive importer of timber, but obviously through Dougal's work, but there's a huge emphasis now on homegrown timber, and it's happened, relatively recently, really. Do you think it's primarily due to climate considerations, or there's other?
I think that's a lot to do with it. People, I mean, I find from my experience that members of the public and people further down the line are the people who are driving this, rather than the timber trade itself, which I'm ashamed to admit I'm part of. But I think nobody likes change, and we're as an industry forced into changing quite dramatically in the last few years, and I think that's a good thing for everybody. And I think the people who haven't been changing are starting to realise that they need to change, and they are changing. And it's quite gratifying to see that happening in such a relatively short time.
Yeah.
And there's a long way to go, but and there's a lot of problems to sort out. I mean, one of the issues is people's perception of quality, for want of a better word. I mean, I think you've got to expect with British timber a bit of rusticness, for want of a better word, that you don't get with previously imported timbers, and people have got to bear that in mind. And I think, from my experience dealing with members of the public, most people do accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a uniqueness as well, but doesn't
Character.
Character, yeah. This is a word that comes up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's got fantastic character, and it's only recently we've really marketed that as a positive, as opposed to perhaps, clean amorphous oak from France or clean amorphous ash from North America was, a thing, and perhaps through stages of fashion and the character and the interest that you get in a British timber, because of the way our woods grow and our timbers have grown, and because of things we've done in the past in those woodlands, such as use them as hunting forests, and then using them to supply timber to make battleships out of wood, and then wartime needs as well. They've not been sort of allowed to sort of be farmed like agriculture, silviculture for trees, and they've not been sort of silviculturally looked after to, if you like, the liking of a forester to grow the very best, cleanest quality, which you might think was ideal. Actually, I think we've got to a position where it's a real benefit to have this character in our timbers. And we have a lot of species here as well. We're quite blessed with a range of species. We sat on oak, we got ash over there, we got chestnut just down the road in terms of hardwoods. And they're all full of character, aren't they? Really full of character.
I think there's an enormous sense of pride in using our local resources that we've got in this country, and there's a lot of species which people haven't been using for years in this country, which are going to see a resurgence in their use. If you go back hundreds of years, things like hornbeam, for instance. I mean, you never hear of that being used, but it used to be used a lot for
good timber.
for mill wheels, and it's a very hard, dense timber, and there's lots of. You can use poplar. There's loads of poplar in this country. It just gets cut down and destroyed for firewood. It's got a lot of uses. I mean, particularly for lorry beds, for instance. That's just one example. I mean, traditionally
matches as well, isn't it? Traditionally matches.
Used to be.
Yeah, matches. Yeah,
it's being thermally modified now by we've got Growing Britain has a research and development programme, and that's kicked off thermal modification of British hardwoods. And if you thermally modified poplar, which is not so durable, and that's why it's used for, in the past for things like matches, and also ash, which isn't durable outside, it's durable, it's fine inside. If you thermally modify it, then it becomes durable and it can compete with, external timbers. So that's, bringing added value to this country, as opposed, we've tended to import that added value in timber. We tend, we've maybe arguably, perhaps controversially, we've not really focused in Britain on manufacturing in recent decades. It's perhaps been more around sort of financial and service trades, but actually being able to add value to a fantastic raw material like this here, rather than putting carbon miles on it and importing an added value product from halfway around the world, when we've got plenty of it here. I mean, about 40% of our woods are undermanaged. There's more to come. There's more, there's more to come out from the existing stock, but we still bring it in. Not only do we bring it in, and we got plenty of it, we we export the value and we buy it in already sort of ready to go as an engineered project. And we really need to turn that around and, start adding that, because the value goes exponentially up when you start turning it into a close to retail product, massively. And we need to do that. We need to do, because we won't be self-sufficient. It's not as if, you talked about 80% being a big importer. It's not as if we're going to be self-sufficient in timber. We just haven't got the land. Yeah. But, a little bit of a change would be good. But we could make a big change in adding value to what we do produce. So if you're going to, if you're going to get something out, get this precious stuff, make the most of it.